The Jenkins lived in the fourth house off the corner of Burglar Street. Not more than a year ago, Lisa and Tom quietly signed divorce papers, so privately that not even their children knew until they were under the custody of an unwilling father. A year later, Anne and David, grades third and fifth respectively, went to the same school, lived in the same house on the same street. Nothing seemed to have changed. It was not until Anna's fourth grade teacher caught a glimpse of the fatal wounds on the 9-year-old's arm that anyone began to realize exactly what was happening behind closed shutters. Anna and David Jenkins, like so many other children around the world, were victims of child abuse, a torment that millions of children have faced, terrified to even go into the sanctuary of their own homes. What's different about them, though, was that later, two of them founded an organization dedicated to helping children in need and eventually forgave their father. Child abuse is a pressing problem that needs to be dealt with efficiently. Today I'm going to go over three main ways that I think will help with this problem. First, the scope of the problem itself, and secondly, the psychological impacts of the problem. But most importantly, third and finally, what we can do to solve this problem. So first, what's the widespread range and scope of child abuse? An article by Child Help, the official organization for the prevention and treatment of child abuse, states, every year, more than 3 million reports of child abuse are made in the United States involving more than 6 million children. The United States has one of the worst records among industrialized nations, losing an average of 4 to 7 children every day due to child abuse and neglect. What's more, though, is that 30% of these kids will go on to abuse their own children, continuing the terrible cycle of child abuse. In order to strengthen the bond between parent and child, more communication to authorities must happen, and simply this cannot happen. This is not happening in the modern world. Many people look past the authorities, and kids are scared to speak to teachers or other members of society. And thus, the cycle of child abuse continues with these 6 million kids constantly being abused at home, and 30% of them will go on to abuse their own children. So now that we know the scope, what does child abuse do to a child? Child abuse can leave lasting physical as well as psychological effects on children. According to an article written by Psychology Today, published October 19, 2013, a study conducted by researchers at UCLA examined the effects of abuse and the corresponding lack of parental affections across the body's entire regulatory system. They found strong links between negative early life experiences and health across the board. The effect permeates one's entire mind-body system. The article goes on to state that a loving relationship can even prevent disease in later life for individuals, and that there's a direct relationship between abuse and mental health. Angela Goodwin Slater is one of such victims of child abuse. Part of a testimony she published on April 13, 2013 states, in the fourth grade, I went to a new school. For the first 4 or 5 months, I was picked on and bullied. When I told my mother, her first response was to ask, what did you do to make them pick on you? As a teenager, I was given the offer to train with the U.S. swimming team for the 1988 World Olympics. I was ecstatic. This was my dream. My mother declined the offer. When I asked her why, she said she did not have the time to waste with that. The events were not as rare as it would appear. My mother would often yell, scream, and put me down. By the early to mid-teens, it was routine. It was part of my day. I did drugs and drank during junior high school. I stopped doing drugs in my late teens, but I started drinking rather heavily. Miss Slater is one of the only victims of child abuse. Throughout her life, she has struggled with her self-esteem and began to see a therapist at the mere age of 20. She has been in and out of therapy for the last 25 years. Now at 45, her biggest struggle is fighting to believe that she is more than what her mother painted her out to be, controlling her own temper with her own child, and trying to be a better mother than hers was. But finally, the most important part, what can we do? What can we do to stop this terrible predicament? Quite simply put, there are 3 main ways to tackle the problem: primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention. Primary prevention focuses on solutions for the general public, such as public service campaigns and public service announcements. Secondary prevention is more focused on communities where abuse is likely to happen, such as family education programs for low-income communities and parental education programs for high schools with teen mothers. Lastly, tertiary prevention is focused on families where abuse has already taken place, as intensive family preservation services with mental guidance counselors and parent mentor programs. All this treatment, however, can only be achieved once the problem is cited, and oftentimes children will feel threatened by their parents to actually confide to others about these problems occurring in their households. So naturally, it falls upon the adults in the children's life and children that other children they interact with to have courage and to change their fate. But sadly, usually this does not happen. That's why it's so important for children to have courage to change. But then there's some amazing people who can find a way to take this abuse and not let it define their life. To almost become a better person because of the ordeals they have to face, the experience. One of the most well-known accounts of this is the story of Oprah Winfrey, a well-known talk show host and philanthropist. She herself has been a victim of child abuse since a very young age and lived in poverty with her dad, who was a drug addict. But she did not let this experience define her. All throughout her life, she could have used that as an excuse that she had been abused for 10 years of her childhood. But not only did she find the courage to break free from the chains that limited her before, she found a way to actually impact lives through her knowledge of the predicaments. Child abuse is a pressing problem that should be dealt with efficiently. However, it is really up to the child to have a privileged experience. Anna and David Jenkins are one example of children that did not let child abuse shape their lives. Oftentimes, it is easy to feel pity for oneself, disabilities, or burdens one might have to carry. The occurrences have lasting impact on a child's life, but it is really up to the child whether or not they want to sit and sulk for the rest of their lives, or really let go of the anger and let it shape them into a better person. Yet we sit here, letting the statistics and numbers really define us, when a real focus should be to learn from our mistakes, not let the anger build up, because when one harbors anger for a person, that person has control over them. We are the masters of our own destiny. We are the controllers of our own fate. Thank you.